of us and is quite far away, but it would be interesting if they are going to head that way. I was hoping to see them cutting to the right slightly. You can see there's a bull that's trailing them as well, so that also could be the reason why they're moving so quickly, is because of this bull that is behind them. I'm surprised. I would have thought they would have spent time at the waterhole. You can see they are actually drifting now quite far away from us, and they're moving super quick. There they are, going across the big open area with the dam just off to our right hand side, and that is a big surprise. I would have definitely thought they would have come to drink and taken their time to have a bit of a splash. It is a warm afternoon, so you would have expected the big pachyderms to take their time with water. I always love watching elephants filing off into the distance, because you can see there's the big matriarch in front and everybody else kind of filters in, and soon as they get towards the thicket it becomes one by one by one and they all file into a line. You'll get the odd naughty elephant that breaks rank, but otherwise pretty much all of them in a line as they move off. So there are some, particularly young males, that are flittering about the water's edge and are taking their time, but the rest of them seem as though they've got somewhere else to be. I wonder if they're not going to go to Galagopan, because Galagopan is pumped. It might be worth us trying to get round that side in the next little bit to see if we can't find them on the other side. There are, like I say, one or two that are spending their time here at the waterhole itself. But let's go forward a bit, Craig, because it'll be nice to have these guys down by the water's edge. Let's just go in here quickly. I'll keep an eye on the others that have walked away, because with those guys that have walked further away, once I see them getting through that thicket, it will mean that they're getting a little bit closer towards the Galago side, and that will make it much easier for us to get across and find them that side. I was hoping that we'll see them kind of drinking all around the pan here with this beautiful afternoon light. It would have just been so nice to have watched them, but I think with the presence of the odd male around, it's caused a little bit of tension amongst the herd, and that's why they've moved off. We can see one young male that's taking it a little bit easier than the rest and is deciding to have a late afternoon drink. And isn't the light beautiful at this time of the day? It is one of the best times to be down by water, because you'll get that golden light that comes over the western horizon, and it will just fill all the water with light, and that reflects up onto the elephant itself, and you can see the water dripping from his mouth. Very pretty sight. I always love spending time with elephants at waterholes, just because of how relaxed it feels. Everybody seems to just be on a go slow when they get to water. It's a kind of lazy way that they go about things. Here comes another one. It actually looks like some of them are turning back and coming this way. I wonder if it's not two different herds that we've seen here. You can just see the last of that bigger herd moving off, but there are a few more dotted around, and so I wonder if it wasn't just two herds that came together, and the one herd saw there was others here already and decided, well, we're going to leave it and we're going to carry on to the next water source. But it's good that the elephants are slowly coming back. This is definitely the most positive sign of a herd being in the area and spending time that we've had over the past few weeks. So there's been quite a few down on Chitwa way, and speaking to the guys, the other rangers around us, they said they've had quite a lot of elephants down near the eastern boundary and around Cheetah Plains and Koro side. So maybe all of those herds are going to start shifting back up towards Djuma, and as water and resources have been exhausted to our south, so they'll start to move and come to this area. You are a very noisy drinker, little one. Can you hear it sucking up the water? What are you doing? Now normally when elephants drink, they'll make a sucking sound to get the water up, but after that it's fairly quiet. But this one, you can actually hear it sucking when it's pushing water into its mouth. What are you doing? I wonder if there isn't a lot of debris on this water, that when it sucks it, it's able to almost filter it over its tongue. It's interesting. It's funny to watch him. He's drinking a little bit differently to others, and there's no damage on the trunk itself that would indicate why we would be hearing that sucking sound more than normal. But There comes a whole bunch of others, young males. It seems as though all the young boys have decided there's no ways that they're going to bypass, and actually more elephants are coming down past us as we're speaking. So here comes the rest of another herd that is coming down. So exactly what I first thought is that there are two different herds here. Here come all the others, and it is going to be absolutely beautiful when they all line up to drink. They are going onto the side where the light is, so they're doing us a great service by not drinking very close to where we are. Hello. Are you enjoying your afternoon? There's one that came down with a little fluster. Yes, yes, girl. Let's see her ears out. She's just wondering why there's a big object at the waterhole, so she'll be fine just now. And you can see the rest of them just moving around near us. I love the way elephants run to water. Shiva, you say these Ellies are so playful with water. They are. It's amazing how elephants love water. For some reason, when they get near water, the child comes out in them, and they start running around and playing and splashing water at one another. It's a fantastic thing to watch. I always enjoy Ellies at waterholes, and we've had some great sightings of them, particularly at Chitwa. They like to swim there, so you'll find them going in and playing and going crazy. And I love the fact that when they come down to this particular waterhole, there's a slight slope that comes down, and so they end up running rather than actually walking. And you'll get a situation where there's kind of some of them almost run too fast for their own bodies, and they end up falling down the hill rather than actually walking down it. But look, they're going to line up perfectly for us on the other side in the most perfect golden light. Isn't that beautiful? And look at the little baby in amongst there as well. And the smallest one is now packed firmly in the middle of all of the adults, so you can see it kind of taking it easy. And on the right hand side we're going to find two Egyptian geese coming through as well. They were just coming past. There they come. So they were very disturbed by the elephants running past, and so they've decided a quick exit is needed. Get to the other side of the waterhole for a little bit more of a relaxed session. Very cool. Look at the young bull watching them go past. I'm sure he's tempted just to run in and chase them off, as young males often do, but at least he's decided not to, and the Egyptian geese are safe for another day. Machine gun nest, you say you love it when the Ellies trumpet. Well, machine gun nest, I do too. I think it's one of the best sounds, and hopefully we will hear them trumpeting. They sometimes do trumpet around water, particularly when they jostle and vie for position. Luckily enough, this particular waterhole is big, and there is a nice long shoreline, so all of them can have enough space to drink. But when it's a crowded little waterhole, often there is a bit of trumpeting that goes on, so it would be really nice if we did hear them. The other thing about trumpeting is that it's generally normally when they're in a little bit of distress, so I suppose it's not good for us to actually hear them trumpet, because the Ellies themselves are not happy. But wouldn't it be nice now if little Tumba or Tundi decided to pop out and spend some times with elephants? Like I've said before, I have worked with a tracker that says that elephants and leopards go hand in hand, and generally where there's lots of elephants, you'll find leopards are walking behind and just following in what's going on. And we know that there was a leopard on the dam cam last night, so it's very possible that maybe, just maybe, there is a leopard lurking somewhere here, and these elephants have come pretty much from where Tumba was this morning, so I wouldn't be surprised that he might have followed them all the way along as they've come through. I think it's the fact that elephants make so much noise that the leopards enjoy seeing what's going on, and they follow all of this commotion, and just because they're curious cats, and particularly a young one like Tumba. But the best thing about Ellies at a waterhole like this is just the sounds that are made. It's so nice to hear them drinking and splashing and snorting. Safari Wild Man, you say you love the afternoon sun. Well, it is very pretty, and particularly at Gari Dam at this time of the day, the afternoon light that comes across this waterhole is exquisite, and when the Ellies come down, it is the perfect place for them to drink on that side, because we end up with a situation where we get this golden reflection on them. So it is really nice when we get the elephants here in the afternoons. It's very pretty indeed. And I would love to actually see a Pride of Lions lined up, so the Angama Pride lined up along the water's edge in this afternoon light would be quite nice as well. But today we've got the Ellies, and we'll certainly take that. I'm just as chuffed with Ellies as anything else. Why are you reaching so far in, little one? And that one will still be learning exactly what to do with its trunk. It's about the age where it's got a pretty good handle on what's going on. I would say it's between a year and 2 years, and generally by 2 years they're effectively using their trunk quite well. So it will have a handle of what's going on, but every now and then there'll be a little malfunction, and water, I think, poses a few challenges from time to time, and they watch the adults. And you'll often find with adults, when they first come to a water hole, they'll drink very close to the edge of the water, but as the water is disturbed from them drinking, so they start to reach further and further. And I think that little one is just mimicking what it's seen from the adults, and that's why it was reaching so far. Now, I was talking about leopards just now, and they're synonymous with elephants sometimes, according to some, and it seems as though Byron is still with the old legend Mvula, and it sounds like he's decided to clean himself up after his meal.
He is indeed, Tristan. Now, there's been so much action going on, everyone, in terms of Imara with the crossings and that, and Tristan getting some elephant. We've been sitting very patiently with Mvula, and he's just finished feeding on, well, I wouldn't say finished, but he stopped feeding rather on this porcupine, and he decided to move closer to us. He moved right out into the open, probably about 4 meters or 3 meters from the vehicle, nice and close to us. You can see actually he's really, really close to us. He's very close, and he's got, must be honest, he's got beautiful eyes. Like I said, it's the first time I've seen this male leopard, but very, very pale eyes. It's wonderful to see him up close and personal. Thick neck, typical of a big male leopard. Quite a big head. Oh, he is beautiful. He is really beautiful. Wow, he's got piercing eyes. Now, Shiva, you asked how much can a leopard eat in a single day. Now, Shiva, it all depends. It depends on the size of the kill that they've got. It depends on how hungry they are. In this instance, I would assume that this leopard's probably only got about 2 or 3 kilograms of food. Maybe, so not that much. Sorry, I'm just having a look at this male, and it's really, really such a wonderful experience to be this close to a big male leopard. I never ever get tired of it, and really are so privileged that he feels so relaxed and comfortable with us, so close to him. So Shiva, it depends. If they kill a large impala, for example, they can probably feed on quite a few kilograms of meat off the impala. But actually, if you listen carefully, you might hear some monkeys' alarm calling. Now, I wonder if there isn't another leopard in this area, because they cannot see Mvula at all. That's almost impossible for them to see him, and they're calling. I'm just trying to think. So I wonder if there isn't another predator around, maybe some lions or possibly another leopard. We know Hosanna was walking through this area early this morning, so he's possibly around, and maybe those monkeys see him. We'll keep an eye out for him, but for now we'll just sit patiently and quietly with Mvula. Now let's quickly cross all the way back to the Masai Mara to Scott, who's managed to find another feline to show you.
This afternoon, as I'm sure you all agree, and look at this beautiful scene. This is the first time we've ever seen these tiny little cubs, all 3 of them together, over there in the front. This is the first time we've seen them with the rest of the pride. It's not to say that it is the first. Look at them already playing with their older cousins, who've been kept at bay while these little cubs were too fragile and frail to be able to play with them, but now they're big enough, and they certainly can learn a lot from their older cousins. I guess it's like having an older brother and sister. You get taught the ways of the world a bit quicker, and these guys certainly are going to be brought up very tough, because you can see already that older male there is wanting to play possibly a little bit too roughly with that tiny cub. But they've got sharp teeth, so they can fend for themselves if need be. And as you can see, they're all just having the greatest time, not a worry in the world. So there's also a few other vehicles enjoying the sighting with us. You may hear the guests on the vehicles chatting with excitement. And what a magical scene this is. This is actually exactly where we left them this morning. We were on the opposite bank, kind of where that big tree is that you can see. And now we've come onto the Lisa, I couldn't agree more that this is the sweetest little sighting, and I think it's only going to get better as long as these guys stay. So those are the slightly older cubs. That one that's just walked out of frame is the generation slightly older than the smallest cubs. So just to fill everyone in, especially if it's your first time joining us, there's 4 sets of cubs here, amounting to 13 cubs in total, 3 of which are the tiniest. There's another 3 that are slightly bigger, and then there's 7 of the bigger ones from 2 separate litters. And the first time we've seen all 13 of them together is now. We haven't seen all 13 out in the open just yet, but there are that many of them, and they've got 4 mothers who are fast asleep nearby, passed out, and I guess understandably so. A huge task to raise these cubs, find them food, nurse them, look after them, but they're doing a great job thus far. And despite the huge risks that these young cubs face from other lions, hyenas, leopards, buffalo, a host of animals will definitely have a go of these cubs if they get half a chance. And despite this, these 4 mothers have been doing an incredible job raising them and have not lost one since we have been here. Although one was left in a crevice for at least 24 hours that we know of. We're not sure what that mother was thinking, but besides that, they've done a great job. Well, the action does simply not want to stop coming in this afternoon, so we're going to rush you off to Tristan with another large herd of elephants.
Well, this has got to be one of the biggest herds, well, not maybe single herd, but bunch of elephants that I've seen, I think, on Djuma, because we've just had the first herd that went through was about 15. Now, as you can see, we've got a monstrous herd that has just come down, and there are easily 40, 50 elephants now all around us. We've got bulls behind us. I can smell bulls that are in heavy muss somewhere here. Lots of babies, and everybody's having a jolly time down by the water. It is phenomenal to see this many elephants, and it is so special to be in amongst them. That's probably the best part about it, is we've sat here and just wave after wave of elephant has come down, and it is very special to be a part of this, that's for sure. We are very fortunate to be able to see things like this, and this is the elephants that I've been missing. I've been seeing quite a few bulls around, and which is always nice, but it's always the best when you get to spend a lot of time with a big herd like this. And isn't this fantastic? I could honestly spend all day with them. Oh. So Machine Gun Nest, you were saying you wanted to hear trumpeting. Well, there we go. There's a little bit of it. It was the babies that were a bit confused as to where mom was in this chaos, and they started to scream, and all the moms turned, and the bulls stopped what they were doing, and everybody kind of had to work out who's who. And you can see they've all clumped up on our left hand side now as well. And that's because of the bull. Look, they're chasing the bull, you see that? So there's 2 bulls that are going after one another, and all the little ones in between. I don't think anybody knows what's going on. It's just pandemonium in the elephant world this afternoon. Isn't this special? I think everybody will eventually settle down once they've all worked out what's going on. You can see some of the females are trying to lead their calves away, so they're trying to take their herds and get them out of here and get them out of the way of these bulls that are competing with one another. You can see all the bulls are on this side, on the right hand side of what's going on, so they're all down that way, and there are another one or two spread out, and I think the females just got a little bit shy of what was going on, and so they've tried to just get all the babies away from the commotion, and so that they don't mistakenly get trampled by one of the big boys chasing another young male. So it would probably mean that there is a female somewhere in here that's in heat. The amount of males that are present that are quite big would indicate that they are. And then lots of the males are smelling and sniffing. And like I say, I can smell must. So there is definitely a bull somewhere around here that's in must. I can't see which one it is just yet. But it must be one of the bigger guys on the other side of the waterhole that is in this full must at the moment. But isn't this absolutely spectacular? And like I say, just to be in and amongst them and be a part of this and listen to them. Now, Megan says that I'm on the dam cam, so we'll wave to all of you. Craig, give everyone a wave. Don't be shy. There we go. Hello, everybody. So there we go. Craig has even got a wave out of Craig. Then you know it's been a good day. Now, Craig, we didn't get you a pangolin so far, but this is pretty special. So I'm sure Craig will be thoroughly enjoying this as much as I am. See, this bull here has definitely had a few altercations with another one. There's one that's standing right in front of me that's got a few cuts all over his ears, and it seems a few little scrapes and scars on the nose area. So I think he's probably had a few run-ins with another male. That's what it looks like by there. And you'll see on that ear area there is a little bit of a hole that's developing, and over time you might find that will cause a deeper hole, and that will be a way to identify this male elephant. As soon as that hole goes all the way through, then he'll have one of those prominent holes that we use to identify these guys. We know that Daryl, which is an elephant that Taylor loves, and a big bull that I actually haven't seen for a while, who's got his little bell-shaped hole on his ear, and that eventually for this male will be a telltale sign of who he is. This is so cool. I see some more are now coming down. It seems as though some of the males that were just having a little feed and playing around with the dam cam equipment are now starting to come down as well, and as well as some females and little ones. So I'm sure we'll get a bit of a greeting as these guys come down. Wow. Sometimes elephants have this ability just to completely take your breath away, and in an afternoon like this where there's the sun setting, elephants all around you, they most certainly do that. Now, a lot of you are saying just how peaceful it is, and it's mesmerizing, isn't it? For me, I would say mesmerizing, and I think if a lot of you are commenting on peaceful, maybe let's do a one-word tweet, #SafariLive, as to what the Ellies are making you feel. For me, it would be mesmerizing. And I think that's a good way to put it. And it seems as though slowly some of them are going to start departing the scene. I think it's multiple different herds that we've got at the moment, and they're all slowly leading each other away. And we've got a young bull that's coming to say hello. Hello, mister. Off you go. Which is... wow. That was super cool. And it looks as though some of the females are actually going to come down to drink now. So what probably happened is that the females were here. We then got a massive amount of males coming through, which caused a bit of havoc. And I wouldn't be surprised if now that the males had a drink, that the females are going to start coming down and having a drink again for themselves. Now that everything is calmed down somewhat, they can be allowed to move in and be able to take it easy and have a good drink themselves. And I'm surprised that the males, actually none of them ended up in the water itself. You'll often find when males come into these areas and there's a bit of water, as we've seen with Chitwa Dam, that they will go and have a really good swim and throw water around, and much like what these two look as though they're going to do. It isn't it beautiful with the reflection? So it's nice now. Okay, boys. Exquisite Bliss, your one-word tweet is happy. Well, most definitely. There's actually a theory to do with elephants that the sound waves that they produce, and this may not be only for sort of you guys watching this, but also hearing them, they say that being in amongst elephants, that the sound waves they produce are actually good for the brain. They cause you to release endorphins without you even knowing it, and that's why often people either feel quite excited or feel calm and peaceful around elephants. And so they say that it's almost the same way as they use dolphins as therapy for kids that have mental disabilities. They use this a little bit with elephants as well. They say that elephants have a very similar effect on people, and so it is always an amazing feeling being around them. There's those that feel a little bit uneasy and a bit untrusting because of the size of them, but when you are in them and you relax, it is the single best feeling to be amongst them. Now, Red Fire Queen, sorry, I didn't hear what your one-word tweet is because I had some females just creeping up at the back and I wasn't actually listening too well. Serene is what you say? Well, yes, it is serene until the males arrive. The males cause a little bit of a sort of disturbance, and we find there's a bit of noise that's made when the males are here, but otherwise it has been a very serene setting, and now that everything has calmed down a little bit and they're all spread out, it seems to be a lot more peaceful and serene now. Mischief, your one-word tweet, which I think is probably my favorite one, is just the simple woohoo. And I agree, this has been a woohoo moment and a very good one. And there is another woohoo moment that is happening all the way on the other side of Africa, and that is with Scotty Dyson, who is apparently still sitting with those big furry cats.
Oh, this is just too good to be true. We literally do not know where to look. This is one of the cutest sightings I've ever had with lion cubs. They are just having the best possible time. Well, the youngsters are getting a little bit bullied, but they stand up for themselves with such bravery and determination and vigor that it scares off the much bigger cubs with surprising force. Watch this. Watch this little youngster stick up for itself here. I mean, it's tiny compared to them. About 2 minutes ago, one of them growled so loudly that I couldn't believe it came out of that little cub's mouth. And they're kind of just playing around with sticks. They found a bone earlier. They're biting one another. There's the bones they're all kind of playing with. They've been biting one another's tails and just having such a good time. It's actually worth showing you what one of the mothers is doing quickly, because it tells quite a good story. That's what Mom's doing. She's had a long day, and I'm sure they are just so happy that they can leave their kids in the little nursery to play with themselves, tire themselves out, and give their 4 mothers a much needed break. There's another 2 lying off in the grass not far behind that one we've just looked at, and I think the 4th one is a little bit further away. I'm not too sure where she is yet. And yes, the cubs are a little bit feisty. That's a great word to describe these tiny little cubs. And like I said earlier, they're getting a great crash course in how to wrestle and defend yourself and stand up to other lion. So great life lessons being installed from a very young age. Hello to Kobe, good to have you on safari again. I'm fairly certain you were also on the sunrise safari, and you would like to know, when will these cubs stop playing with one another? Well, I think up to about the age of 2 years old, lion cubs will still have quite a playful nature. Possibly not as playful as what we're seeing now. It will become less and less, but definitely up to around 2 years old, young sub-adult lions tend to be mischievous and have a youthful, carefree approach to life. Thereafter, they start kind of realizing that they need to start contributing towards the pride, or if it's males, that they know that they're going to be heading off on their own. Look at how beautiful this view is. And what an afternoon safari it has been. Leopards, lions, elephants, wildebeests crossing the river, and now these incredibly action-packed, awesome list of things that have happened. Thankfully it didn't. It's been good fun snapping a few shots of these playful critters. Difficult to know where to point the camera. It's one of these situations where Dave and I will be looking up, checking that he's not missing out on any action where cubs could be playing out of frame, which tends to be the case. I wonder which cub it was that was stuck in the crevice. It could be that one that's looking at us on the left-hand side of your screen. It was one of that generation. All three of them are the same age, and one was stuck in a crevice, calling out wildly the whole night that we followed these lions. And it was actually quite a traumatizing experience hearing this little cub crying for about 4 hours while its mother nursed the other two cubs and just left it stranded in a hole. But it all worked out well in the end, and it somehow got out of there. We're not sure exactly how, whether mom went down and gently latched onto its neck and head with her jaws and carried her out, or possibly one of her aunts may have helped her. But certainly very happy that all is in order and that all 13 cubs are in great condition. They all seem to have quite full bellies, which is also a good sign. And these cubs will all be doing a combination of eating milk and drinking meat. Drinking milk and eating meat. Although the youngest cubs probably won't be eating too much meat at this stage. From about 3 months age, they'll start to eat both meat and milk. And that'll last for about 9 to 12 months. Okay, well, we are going to stick with these cute little cubs and send you across to some elephants.
Well, we are still with our Ellies, and isn't that spectacular? The sun has just set over Djuma Lodge. It's making the water a bright yellow-pink colour. There's still a few bulls complaining, and these Ellies have just come round to drink, and it is really very pretty to sit here and watch all of this going on. And I can tell you there are elephants in every single direction that we look. There are south, north, east, west. Every single way that you can think of is an elephant currently at the moment, which is, well, the best way to spend an afternoon. I'm certainly loving every second of this, and as Scott said, we've been spoilt this afternoon between all of the different places that we've been. James's incredible crossing, Scott with his lions, Leopard, and probably one of the biggest herds of elephants I've seen in a very long time at Djuma, and that is beautiful. Look at that. Last rays of sun, the big grey ghosts sort of melting through the bush as they go. Wow. We are being spoilt this afternoon. And Riedel, you say another beautiful sunset. Well, yes, it is probably one of the more beautiful ones we've had, given that we've got these big, great grey pachyderms moving around underneath it. It certainly has made for a beautiful setting. And like I say, there literally are elephants everywhere. So that's one herd that's moving off back towards Quarantine side. Then on the northern side is the other herd that went northway and onto the other side of the dam. So you can see some of them far in the distance. And then we've got a herd that is shifting off onto the east, so they're straight ahead of us, and just slowly all the way around they're going down towards central, and then we have some even right next to us. Dennis, you're asking how intelligent are elephants? Well, they're probably the most intelligent, one of the most intelligent animals we have out here. I would say the only other things that could rival them is probably baboons and vervet monkeys, but otherwise they really are one of the most intelligent animals here. They have an incredibly large brain, much like the size of a human's brain, and that means is that they are able to feel emotion as well as to process complex thoughts, and they're able to work out a lot of what's going on. And a simple example of how intelligent these animals are is I once worked in a place where we used to have a fenced encampment. Now the fence fence used to go all the way around, and there was actually then a physical metal boom that was required us to lift it off. And so at night they used to put a chain over this boom, as well as the electric fence, and the electric fence used to have little rubber handles that would clip on to complete the circuit. And elephants used to regularly come, unclip that little electric fence, so they worked out that they could put their trunk around the rubber section, unclip it, and then take the chain off of that metal bar, pick up the bar, rest the bar on their backs, and allow the herd to cross through. So that just gives you an idea of just how intelligent these guys are. They really are one of the most clever animals that we have out here in Africa. And that's also why they are a difficult animal to keep in a lot of places, because of their amount of sort of problems that they get themselves into, because they end up breaking pipes, getting to water, and all kinds of other things. And so they do get themselves into a little bit of trouble from time to time. Now, I believe Byron has got himself all sorted out. Apparently he was putting on his infrared, which is an encouraging sign, and he's got the tatty-eared Mvula, and let's go across and see how he's doing. I want to turn
around. Well, Tristan, I am indeed still with Mvula. However, he decided to move a little bit, and I'm now stuck between a male leopard and a hard place. I cannot move out of here. There's no way of going forward at all. But so he's boxed us in. So we're going to have to sit here until he eventually decides to move, I think. We've had such a wonderful sighting of him. He's completely relaxed around the vehicle. The pearl-spotted owls are calling. And I still can't get over the beautiful eyes of this male leopard. Really spectacular. Oh, I just want him to look at us. Look at that. Oh, isn't that amazing? Mad Candy, you asked, will the cats always remember their family or siblings? They probably do, Mad Candy. Now, even though they're solitary, they will still recognize the scent of either offspring or parents. So they will still recognize the scent of the family members. Excuse me a second. Go ahead, Andrew, go ahead. It's just myself, Andrew. You can make your way straight in. Animals lying out in the open at the moment. Just calling one of the other guys in quickly so they can also come have a good view. So Mad Candy, they would definitely recognize each other from their scent. That's how most animals recognize one another. And whether or not they tolerate each other is another thing. But I have seen, and usually it's the male leopards that don't tolerate other leopards around. But I have seen male leopards surprise us and tolerate their offspring and tolerate females. But generally, if there's another male, then they wouldn't tolerate them at all. But if it's offspring or family, they potentially do tolerate them. Oh no, it looks like it's been such an amazing afternoon for everybody. So from elephant to leopard, and now we're going to go across to Scott with Playful lion cubs.
Well, this little cub has decided enough playtime and headed back to Mom's safety. Yet Mom doesn't seem interested at all. Barely acknowledged that little cub. There's a little bit of movements. And here comes some more. Oh, they are just the coolest little things, and they are really in the most playful spirits with one another. They haven't stopped since the moment we got here. Oh. When you're that short, yes, any little rustle in the grass may scare you. Earlier, one of the bigger cubs, the one that we could just see on the right of your screen there, was sneaking up on one of these smaller ones, and the smaller one looked over its shoulder and got the fright of its life and just started skidding on the spot. It was trying to run so quickly it wasn't even moving. Magic. There have been a few playing in like a kind of treehouse. There one came just out of that kind of cave, you could say. And I mean, look at that tiny cub standing up to a cub twice the size of it, fearless, not even slightly concerned. You wonder what would happen if that bigger cub landed on it, but honestly the cub's not too concerned. And now it's having second thoughts. There's lots of this that's happening. We see so much slapping of one another's faces. They all kind of go up to one another, whether it's cubs from the same litter, older ones, younger ones, you name it. They just give one another a good slap on the head. That's usually, it's about a 2 or 3 round bout, a few shots each, and then they kind of go off and do their own thing. All the other cubs are now also kind of streaming into this area, and I think they're all getting excited to possibly have one more feed before that. The larger cubs, their bellies are very, very full, and that's because they'll be feeding on meat already. The other ones, I'm not sure, the 6 small ones are ready and sometimes fall out. Jerry was lucky enough to see one come plummeting out of the height of that tree. Hello to H. Macy, and good to have you with us. You wondering, how does it work with male lion? When will they get pushed out, or will they move off alone? Usually what tends to happen is their fathers will kind of push them out, and then they'll move into the next territory where they'll meet another big set of probably older males, and they'll keep moving for about 3 or 4 years, possibly as a coalition of males. There's quite a few boys here, so they'll be able to band up and make a team, and then possibly become dominant when they're only about 5 to 7 years of age. But it all depends on how much competition they have around them. So these guys are still here for at least another 2 years, 2.5 years, I would say, and we're going to get them, hopefully, to see them turn into beautiful big male lions and follow their path wherever it goes. From here, we'll be able to keep track of where they are, just like we keep track of the young male leopards that move out of their home ranges in the Sabi sands. And this pride has certainly been a joy to get to know so far. 4 lioness, 13 cubs. Too good to be true, and it's all right on our doorstep. It's literally 10 minutes from camp, where these guys like to camp. In the back of my mind, they're going to become hard gone, and there's not so much food around. They're going to have to move big distances to feed all these mouths. And this is all such good practice, like I said earlier. It seems like good play, of course that it is. But all of these things that they are practicing now are very, very useful. Not only hunting techniques, but also fighting techniques. It must be said that lions do fight with one another, with other prides. Lioness will compete with other lioness for their territories. Males with other big males. And as you can see, they're getting a good grip of... I mean, how fascinating is it that those tiny, tiny little cubs stand up to their older cousins? Very little brave. We've just got a question through saying how are lions similar to house cats? And your name is SME. Good to have you with us. I guess they're very similar in the sense that they look the same. They're just far, far bigger. Obviously, the color of their coats is different, but they are, in essence, just a big version of a house cat. One of their biggest differences, though, is that they live communally, and most cats around the world are solitary. It's rare for especially female cats to join forces, yet in the lion kingdom it is so important. It's a huge part of their life. It's very uncommon to find single lioness, so they live in a pride structure, and that is probably your biggest difference between a house cat and a lion. Other than that, they like catching things. Anything fluffy and furry getting dragged past them will induce a chase. And of course they can roar very loudly, so that would be another big difference. House cats can't roar like lions. Well, we're going to say goodbye to these lion cubs. We need to start getting out of the reserve, but it's just too good to be true. I think we've finished off on a high note there. And like I said, we need to head back on up the hill to be out of the park in the regulation times. But the good news is the safari is not over to you. You are going back to Byron with Mvula.
That's awesome, Scott. I'm so glad you had such a wonderful sighting with those lions. Now, we are still sitting with Mvula, and I'm hoping that he decides to move for us, because we are still stuck. He's just turned his back on us, though. But you can see that beautiful coat of his now. Really, really. He's got such a thick neck. I was saying to Sebastian, he's got a very, very thick neck. Ah, there we go. There we go. He's up. Thankfully, he may just change position slightly. Exactly. But luckily, he's moved a little bit further away from us, so we might be able to get out now. But isn't that such a wonderful view of him? He's decided to lie out in the open. And we've spent an amazing afternoon with him, watching him feeding on a porcupine. And now just resting. He'll probably decide to start feeding again a little bit later, I'm sure. Kobe, at age 15, you asked if Mvula's spots will fade away as he gets older. So no, Kobe, they won't. They basically, that is his coat, so they won't fade away at all. You know what? Can you smell that? He actually just urinated. Sorry, Kobe, I'll get back to your question now. It smells exactly. Just have a look at the tail if you can get it. That bit of white. Is that not some foam made from the urine? I think it is. Can you see that? Is it not? It is, yeah. You see, it is. I could smell it immediately. So he laid down there and he urinated, and it does. It smells almost, we always mention it, but it does smell a little bit like that buttered popcorn when they do scent mark. But wow, you can smell it clearly now, hey, Sebastian? It's amazing. So he just lay down and urinated. He's being a bit lazy now, but that urine has got a very, very strong smell, and it smells a bit like, as I said, buttered popcorn. I could smell it, and then I noticed that white foam over there from the urine. Wow, so that's interesting, but the very, very clear smell. Very. Oh, that's really interesting. Now, Kobe, you just having a look again at those spots, those rosettes, the beautiful pattern on the leopard. Now, they won't fade, they won't change. When they are younger, the spots and the rosettes aren't as clear, and as they get older, the clarity comes out a lot more. And I suppose you could say they grow into their spots almost, or the spots become a lot clearer. But they won't fade with age, not at all. Now, JJ, you asked how much smaller leopards are compared to lions. Well, JJ, to give you an idea, a full-grown male leopard like this is about half the size of a lioness. Now, Mvula is a big male leopard, but an adult lioness could probably weigh around between 140 and 160 kilograms, and an adult male leopard like this is probably between 70 and 80 kilograms. So it's about half the size of a lioness. Now, a big male lion will get up to about 200, maybe 220 kilograms. So that's much larger. Now, if we're looking at pounds, leopard is about, call it 100 and what's it, 180 pounds, somewhere around there, and a lioness is probably closer to 300 pounds, somewhere around there, 320, 340, 320, 340, somewhere around there. So that would be in pounds. And a big male lion will get over 400 pounds, a really big male. But but they are still incredibly powerful. These leopards, I think pound for pound, a leopard must be one of the most powerful predators out here. They definitely are incredibly strong. And if you see them carry a carcass up into the tree, that is amazing. Punk rock and music, you ask, is there only one type of leopard in Africa? There's only this leopard, but not just this one. There's many different leopards around, but only the African leopard. However, in other parts of the world, there are leopards that occur. You get snow leopards. You get, I suppose, the jaguar falls under the leopard family, or they do fall under Panthera. The jaguar is just much larger. The jaguar is about the size of a lioness. You also get clouded leopards. What else? So there are different types of leopards around the world, but in Africa we only have this leopard. And they do occur just about all over Africa. Mountainous regions, thick forest areas, vast desert areas too. So you get leopards all over. One of the cats that are able to adapt to just about any terrain and area that they are in. It's really been a privilege to sit this close to this male leopard this afternoon, spend time with him and watch him. It's a really great first sighting for me of this male. I have not seen him before on Safari Live. I don't... Alright, now I think what we're going to do is we're going to try leave Mvula, possibly go and see if we can find something else and give someone else a chance to come and view him. But what a wonderful sighting. We're going to head back to Tristan, see how his afternoon with the elephants have been going, and we'll see you shortly.
Well, Byron, it is as good as it could ever be when you are ambling along with Africa's giants slowly into the beautiful dusk sky. It doesn't get any better than that at all. And so we're just slowly following in behind. The rest of the herd is around us, and they're kind of just everywhere at the moment, all feeding. And it would be so nice if we can just get back towards where we were in the middle and then stop and just to let them all sort of drift around us. And it looks as though after a drink, which is fairly typical of elephants, is that they're going to spend a lot of time now finding food, and so they're all kind of splintering out off the road. We've got a young bull that's just on our right hand side that is being very kind and letting us just slowly tag along with him, and then a couple of the other bulls have left off, and then some females in front. So there is literally elephants in every direction that I can look, and pretty much everywhere that there are. Now, I don't know if anybody actually got a chance to count all the Ellies that were with us. It would be nice to know just how many we had down at the dam. I would imagine that it must have been a good number of them, just given how many I can see already where we are now. So I'm just going a little bit further forward, and then I'm going to stop and turn, and we should get a view of all of these Ellies coming back past us again, because they're heading straight towards Gowrie Cutline. And so if they're at Gowrie Cutline, then in all likelihood we'll get them crossing the road in front of us, and we've got our IR set up, which means that we... Oh, hello, little one. Now, there's a little one that had a little trumpet at us. So there's another trumpet, and a baby's trumpet is always the best trumpet. They definitely, the adults sort of give you a bit of a spine tingle, but the baby's is just cute, and it's quite fun to watch them when they're a little bit upset about things, and then they turn and give you a little trumpet as you come past. It's quite common for them to do so. But it's interesting to see how these elephants are going. They came from this direction, so they came from Yala Road South, out of the Mulawati, all the way along, and now they're going straight back towards the drainage sections again. And I wonder if there's not a food source inside the drainage lines at the moment that they really are targeting. So what I'm going to do is, this is pretty much where I wanted to stop. We're going to have a beautiful view of a big jackleberry tree in front of us, and the Ellies should then theoretically, and this is the theory, is come past us slowly but surely. There are some that are crossing in front there, but I can see lots on their way coming in this direction that are just silhouettes at the moment, and they'll slowly come across towards where we are now. So you can just see the tops of their heads of some of the bigger bulls as they follow the herds across and through this section, and we'll end up with a situation then all those elephants that have just driven past should hopefully one by one file past us. So Mary, you say you got up to 73 different elephants. Well, was that including the first herd, Mary? I wonder, because I reckon we must have had close to 100 in total by the time those first sets had moved off, because they didn't stick around for very long. They kind of just quickly rushed by us, and then so she says she lost count and there were more in different herds all over the place. So, Mary, well, thank you for counting as much as 73. That's a phenomenal feat as it is, because I know elephants, when they're in big mass like that, it is difficult because everyone's going in different directions and it makes seeing them really quite hard. So I would reckon that close to 100 is probably about right, which is considered a mega herd for this area. It's not something we're going to see every day, and certainly is a little bit of a rarity within these parts of the world. If you go up into other parts of Africa, the Chobe River and places like that, it is most certainly a common situation and something that you'll see more often. But here in the Sabi Sands, a herd of 100 is considered to be one of the biggest herds that we'll see out here. So very fortunate. We're all incredibly lucky to have spent time with them. And isn't it beautiful with that orange light in the background and the Ellies slowly appearing through these thickets? I always love that when elephants are quite obscured by bushes, and slowly but surely you just see them appearing as they come through these thickets, and with especially when you've got a bit of an orange light behind them. Laura Moore, you say the Ellies are more impressive, or even more impressive is the words that you used, in the dusk, and I agree. I think there's something about that light and the colour that they are that just makes it that much better as you see them kind of drifting through. And because they're dark animals, when it starts to get a little bit more dingy, it starts to become tougher to actually see them. And so as they come through, it is exactly that sort of ghostly appearance that they have. They just start appearing out of nowhere, and you see them coming through, and then the light behind them, and it just makes them appear that much more majestic and more powerful for some reason. I don't know why. It's just at least the way I see it. I don't know if others feel the same, but that's for me how I picture it. And you can see the rest of them are slowly but surely going to start coming. There's a few of these guys still stuck on the left, and the best part about this is actually all the noise that we're hearing. It's just chomping away in every direction. So hopefully these guys will all start coming out. To me, you're asking what is the biggest herd of elephants that I've ever seen. Well, to me, there's one herd in particular that was absolutely astounding, which was a herd up in Tsavo National Park in the northern reaches of Tsavo that we flew over. And that herd, I don't even know how many elephants were in there, but that must have been a herd that was easily 700-800 elephants together moving around. It was quite a big span that they were in, but they were all considered to be part of the same group, and it was amazing to go back on the ground later and just see how it had been completely flattened from that area. So that would be the biggest herd. Here in the Kruger Park section, I've seen a herd that probably got close to 200, which is a massive unit, and so those are the biggest herds that I've seen. But the one in Kenya was by far the largest, and something I'll never forget. When you see that many animals, it is just astounding to see the number of them. And remember, from the air, you're not going to be able to count them as well. So if you think that we were seeing probably 700-800, there probably was closer to 1,000 of them altogether. I see there's a couple of Ellies having a little showdown in the distance there on the road. So you can see there they are, a couple of the young bulls, Dust and typical of young bull elephants at this time of the day. So that's very pretty, with all the dust being backlit. Now I believe James Henry is still with us and still in Kenya and is admiring some of the more prehistoric toothy critters in the Mara River.
It would seem to me that the crocodiles have been, well, slow on the uptake, I think. Here they are at the very same crossing where that large, well, shall we say, herd of hoofed meat came running across the river earlier on, and now, well, that's all that's left. I've yet to see any form of crossing in the night time, and so I'm very really not sure that those crocs are going to get anything. Some of them are lying down there, a couple of wildebeests lurking there, another crocodile thinking, oh, I guess I'm a bit late for tonight. Maybe they'll come again tomorrow. Maybe they will, but maybe they won't. Best you waken up a little, my fellow. And quite astoundingly, I don't think that anything drowned today. I've no doubt there are. Let's go now to the Dusty crossing, which is my favourite sunset crossing. There it is. Now I'm just going to zoom very... Wait. Let me do that again. Wait. Okay. Here we go. Nice, slow, peaceful zoom in towards the river. Even that's too fast, everybody. Hang on. There we go. Nice and slow. Very peaceful. As we go down to the river and inhale the smell of the water, the faint whiff of hippopotamus dung, which is not an entirely unpleasant smell, and the yawning of hippo, the sound echoing off the steep banks of the Mara. And my favourite part of the scene is the swallows drinking. And, well, on a less cloudy day, we action going on here, but T-bomb, that's Tristan the bomb, over
Well, James, I think T-bomb is actually Taylor, as far as I know. We'll have to ask Lou, because Lou is the one that uses T-bomb quite often, and I think she refers to Taylor as T-bomb. But there's definitely two naughty elephants, regardless of what I'm called, still having a bit of fun together, and young males, which is fairly typical, pushing one another around at this time of the day. But I can tell you where we are sitting right now, we are directly downwind from wherever this musk bull is, and it's actually choking the smell that is in the air. It's got this very pungent waft that is coming through the wind, and it gets up into your nostrils and almost feels as though it's in your throat. And he must be very close to us wherever he is, because it is very pungent at this stage. I think he might be on this side, Craig, on our right hand side, but we'll have a look now, because there are elephants pretty much everywhere. And isn't that the most spectacular sky that we've got? We've got a little half-moon crescent just coming through the tree over there somewhere. So we've got the dead knobthorn with our half moon. We've got Ellies, we've got sunset. I believe Megan's telling me there's more elephants that have arrived at the dam cam, which is just phenomenal. To think that there is another herd that is busy showing up there is absolutely amazing. So I wonder if those are not more Ellies that are coming up, and if it is a herd system, this is definitely one of the biggest herds I've seen in a very long time. And it's maybe all of our elephants, and why we haven't been seeing them is because they've all joined together to form this massive grouping that we're seeing here. And you can see our bulls are still having a little play fight. Now Craig's going to go into IR, so we are going to lose colour. It's going to go black and white. There we go. It's just going to help Craig. It's getting a little dark to be actually focusing without the infrared, so we do need the infrared just to be able to see what's happening. And I always love when young bull elephants fight, because you see they kind of test each other a little bit, and then they realize, oh, hang on a second, there's tusks and varying other things, and this causes complications, and he's a little bit sore. There we go. Are you going to make a little heart with your trunks? No, we're going to grab each other's trunk and push one another around. That's what we're going to do instead. This is so cool. And isn't it amazing that we can see this in infrared? It's really getting very dark now. It's not something we would typically be able to, trying to get away, but the other one is pushing it from behind, so I'm sure we're going to see them arriving just now. So, Eric, you were saying a little joke where you saying, "Come on now, Ellies, tusk, tusk, tusk." Well, yes, I suppose they are being a little on the naughty side, aren't they? They're being a bit full of themselves. And I see there's more that are starting to come out on my left. So I'm just going to roll back with these Ellies as they are approaching us. So we're going to just go back slightly. I've changed position a little bit just because I wanted to watch those two that were having a little showdown with one another. And so some of them have overtaken me. There's a couple of the young bulls coming out now. And these must be where the musk bull is, because definite waft coming down from here on the right hand side, and there's one that's just crossed the road now. There we go. And I love the contrast that the IR brings. It just really makes our Ellies stand out at night. What I'm seeing now doesn't look anything like that. It doesn't look as though these elephants are easy to see. In fact, they're becoming very difficult to see. It's becoming very dingy, like I say, and they definitely don't contrast like that to the naked eye. So being able to use the infrared makes these guys really stand out and gives us an ability to see what's going on, which is super cool. You can see there's another one having a little feed, and there's the big jackalberry I was talking about in the background. Now we're going to just finish up our day with our elephants, because this has been the most mesmerizing sighting, and why wouldn't you? You've got elephants all around us, and it's the best way to spend a day. I'm sure Byron is a little jealous, and I'm a little jealous of him with the Mvula. But talking about Byron, it sounds like he's got his spotlight out, and I'm sure he is on the hunt for some owls.
Tristan, you know what, I think this afternoon, I'm actually not too jealous about your elephants. I'm very glad that you got such a wonderful sighting with them, but I really enjoyed sitting with that male leopard this afternoon. I think, what a great afternoon for everyone. And James had a lot of action with his dam cam or river cams. Scott had an amazing lion sighting with cubs. And Tristan with that wonderful herd of elephant. We had Mvula. Paula, you were saying you're quite overwhelmed. It's been a wonderful, wonderful afternoon for Safari Live, and that's what it's all about, everyone. I think, at times we drive around and we don't often find what we're looking for, but that's the wild and that's the bush. And then other days, you have days like today, this afternoon, and there's just so much happening. There's so much going on, which is wonderful. So very fortunate, and actually looking forward to maybe watching some of the show a little bit later and seeing what everyone else saw, because it sounded amazing, especially that crossing that James had. So yeah, it's been a fun-filled afternoon. At one point I thought I was going to be alone out here, but luckily James got the signal sorted out in his little control room, and then Scott was out on drive, and then Tristan joined us once Batman returned. Fortunately, as Tristan said, Batman's bulletproof. Nothing can keep him down. Oh, FMEU said, okay, I should try find us some nocturnal critters. I'm going to try. Does that owl that I found earlier, does that count, or you want it now in the evening with the spotlight? Megan says no, it doesn't. It doesn't count because it wasn't at night. All right, Megan. So Megan's a bit of a slave driver, everyone. Don't let her young how can we there's an elephant, not quite nocturnal, but there we go. Well, see, Tristan, we managed to find elephant. Just going to put this light off quickly. I can try the infrared perhaps. Let's try. No, don't go away. There we go. Okay. Oh wow, look at that. Beautiful. That's actually such a lovely view with the infrared. I can hear a few of them. There's a herd around me at the There's a herd around me at the moment. As I was saying, don't let Megan's youthful disguise fool you. She's a bit of a slave driver, and she shouts at us if we get something wrong. And there's some wildebeest also out into the clearing for the night for safety. But there seems to be a lot of elephant around. I can just hear them. I can't see them, but I can hear them in the bushes to my right. Isn't it wonderful how those tusks really stand out in the infrared with the light that we have on them? Now, it's completely dark for us at the moment. So it's wonderful that you're still able to see them so clearly. Happily feeding away. See, maybe the elephants were a bit upset that I didn't see them this afternoon, and that I spent so much time with the leopard, so they've decided to come out and say goodnight. If you believe in that, perhaps. You never know. I don't know. Elephants are definitely one of my favorite animals. If not the favorite. Well, honey badger and then the elephant. I'd love to find a honey badger, actually. I see their tracks every day. There's a section that we see their tracks, and I think tomorrow I might just hang around there in the evening. Maybe we get lucky and find a honey badger moving around, although I think they'll probably come out a bit later. It's elephant. Is it? Steenbok.
It's a Steenbok.
There we go.
Like
No problem. Have a look. There's that little Steenbok. Can you see there? Look at that. That's beautiful. Beautiful little male. It must be feeling a little nervous. Well, probably not really, I suppose. Just some big elephant moving around it. But they won't harm. They won't harm the little Steenbok. You can see it's been a wonderful afternoon. Been using all my words, so I can't speak anymore. Paula, in this area, these elephants probably don't have any enemies or any predators. However, in parts of Africa, in parts of Botswana, you do see lions hunting elephant, in fact. So the biggest predator for elephant, natural predator, would be lions. But of course, we've got serious issues around Africa with the poaching of elephant and that too. So their biggest threat would be man. But naturally, lion prides, if they are skilled and experienced lions, they probably go for younger elephant. Not necessarily the big bulls. They're safe. Nothing will go for them. I can hear a Scops owl calling in the distance. I can hear a pearl-spotted owl. So the owls are all out. Maybe we find one just before the end of the show. I'm not sure. Nah, I don't think so. I think we're cutting a bit fine. Cutting it a bit fine. All right, Seb, shall we try and see if we can get a glimpse of an owl, maybe, perhaps? You see how I covered my bases there. Maybe, perhaps. Never a guarantee. Never a guarantee. Alright, so we're going to keep searching, but let's head back to Tristan, who's still sitting with his herd of elephant.
We are indeed. We're just sitting here listening to the sounds of the Ellies feeding all around us, and it is beautiful. So we can't see too many of them anymore. They are around. There's some on my left-hand side and some on my right, and it's just gotten quite dark for me to see anything, but with the IR we can see one or two, but it's more just about sitting and listening to what's going on around us. And there you can see one of them just going across the road now. There actually is quite a few of them coming out, a little baby as well. And while I was sitting here, I did hear an elephant sawing. I mean, not an elephant, a leopard sawing from quite far away. It sounded like quite far north of us. So I would wonder if maybe Tingana's not around. It didn't sound like a male though, it sounded to me more female. So I wonder if Thandi is not somewhere here from her escapades around the dam. Didn't sound too far off, but definitely on the northern side of where we are, which is very close then to the Buffelshoek cut line. So that's where I think somewhere around that area. Now these Ellies are drifting quite far away from us, which means that even with the IR we are struggling a little bit. Herb, it's not so much us as it is the animals and the nature that has given us what we've been able to find this afternoon, but it has been the most incredible sunset safari, given that Byron had a Mvula on a porcupine kill of all things. We've had elephants, we've had lions, we've had a crossing, and it just shows you that when the Masai Mara and the Djuma or Greater Kruger National Park join together, it is quite something, and it shows two of the world's most spectacular natural wilderness areas, which is fantastic for all of us, and the fact that we get to show this to all of you across the world is quite something, and I'm so glad that you are enjoying when we go across to both locations and be able to show you all the magnificent things that nature has to offer in different parts of the world. Now unfortunately it is that time of the evening where it is time to say goodbye, so our elephants are slowly drifting off. We do have a beautiful view of the moon setting in the distance, and well, unfortunately because we're in IR it's not going to show so nicely, and there's is going behind a tree, but it is that time unfortunately where we are going to start making our way back to camp. I'm sure Byron is wanting to get his feet up after having to do a short stint in the beginning on his own, and well, we're going to start making our way that way too, and that is the way back home. And you can see the moon there. Isn't the moon beautiful in IR through the dead tree? It looks a little bit more creepy, almost like something out of a Tim Burton movie, The Nightmare Before Christmas. That's what you would kind of think about when you do that. Now I know Sally Jane is already excited for our sunrise safari tomorrow. Well, Sally Jane, I think you and many others, even us as guides, will be looking forward to it. But that's all we've got time for. So for myself, Byron, James and Scott, Craig and Sebastian, we'll see you all tomorrow on the sunrise safari.